The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
It is a football Friday, and there is no stopping us now. Here we go, a monstrous show on tap as we preview the Tennessee Chattanooga game. Look back at an NC State team that kind of looked, ugh. And also, we will discuss later up on the program a little bit of Colorado. Your thoughts. They're finding new ways to steal signs. My four predictions, four bold predictions that will happen in the Tennessee game. And I feel very good about these. Who is standing in the way of Nico winning the Heisman? Well, not Grayson McCall, who played for NC State last night. We'll talk about that. But there's some other guys out there that I think are going to prove that you should put your money on Nico right now. And that has to do with Shedeur Sanders and his lack of protection that he had as Colorado was barely able to beat North Dakota State. So we've got a lot going on the program. I want to remind you, we're represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. They go to trial. Other guys will settle. banksandjones.com. Caleb, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm well. Yeah, you got to have some more fire. It's Friday, one more night, and there is actual football.
That is true. That is true. Well, and football actually started last night, and I don't know if you guys watched those games, but I had a little bit of fun. Although I'm gonna the reason I'm down is I don't want to admit this, but I'm 0-3 on my start to the season on my gambling predictions on the spread.
Ouch. Ouch.
That last North Dakota State touchdown wrecked me.
All right, let's get to four downs right now, and it is brought to you by our good friends at Banks & Jones.
Four downs. Four questions. Four answers. The Dave Hooker Show. Four downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so Caleb tries to get me to make predictions like on Wednesday. I absolutely hate that, and I don't like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to be what I do, but I am ready to give you four bold predictions about the Vols. So what do you think about that, Caleb Calhoun? And I will also give you my predictions, my prediction for this game, which I've vacillated a little bit on. You shared your prediction for the game, but Caleb, I have not given my official prediction. We used to have a picks panel that ran in the News Sentinel, and you had to send your predictions in on Wednesday. I absolutely hated that. So Caleb, you feel good about your prediction? Anything change over the past 24 hours? Because you picked Tennessee to do what?
Oh, yeah, they're going to cover, and the game's going to hit the over. And it's going to hit the over because of their offense alone. And I because of how committed to Josh Heupel is to making sure that happens. Let's just be honest. I think Josh Heupel has a desire to turn Nico into the biggest star in college football this year. And quite honestly, Dave, has an incentive to do it for recruiting purposes.
Okay, here we go. It is four downs, and it's brought to you by our good friends at Banks & Jones. Cooper Mays will tell you what to do. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, you need to be subscribed because we'll visit with Cooper and get his reaction on the game. The Ball Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters, and they're over 50 years in East Tennessee. So the Ball Report with Cooper will be on Sunday. Great reaction from him and what should be a big Tennessee win. So make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And hit the like button. We greatly appreciate that. And turn those notifications on so you know when Cooper drops, because the schedule can be all over the place. Sometimes he's a busy guy. And I'll also ask you this. Listen to Coop when he says, oh, that's the wrong drop. Here we go. Do we want to get to the right drop? Yes.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thank you. All right. These are my bold predictions for the Tennessee-Chattanooga game. What's up first?
Coop here. First down.
All right. First down is this. Nico Iamaleava will throw for 350 yards in a half. I don't expect Tennessee superstar quarterback to play much in the second half, even though I do think Josh Heupel keeps his guys in there a little bit too long. I think he'll throw for 350, dominate. He'll go out there for the first drive just to go through that halftime ritual, and then he'll be out of the game. Do you agree or disagree with 350 yards in the first half?
I disagree. I'm going to go, that's crazy. I don't have Tracy Morgan next to me. So I'm sorry, Dave. This is why it's hard to do it the reverse way, but I'm going to disagree. I don't think 350 yards and a half is possible really with this offense, with the balance that they bring to it. And so I don't see him having 350 yards and a half I don't see him having that. I see him having 250.
You know what, though, kind of tipped me off when we visited with Rusty Wright yesterday? And he made a point to mention Tennessee's running game. So it sounds to me like he, of course, as a coach, he would be, but he's well aware that Tennessee runs the football. So he's an old school coach. And I thought about this last night. He would want to take that away first. We think Nico's a proven commodity, but I would want him to prove that. And I think they'll try to take the run away in the first half, and then they'll wear down.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, up next, it is this. 2 Tennessee tight ends will catch multiple passes, not just one, but 2. Ethan Davis and Miles Kitselman in particular will catch a couple of different passes, as you will see Nico begin to work the middle of the field. Ethan Davis, I said it earlier this week, is going to be the breakout player in this game, the guy that's going to blow you away.
Yes, this is an obvious one to me, too. I think Nico will work the middle of the field, but more importantly than that, they're going to pull him by the third quarter, and the backup tight ends are going to get involved. So, Dave, you said 2 tight ends. I think 4 tight ends could catch multiple passes in this game, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, I'm talking about real-time games. I mean, I see what you're saying, but yes. I mean, in the fourth quarter, there could be some dude that we don't know. We'll set the poll question. If you want to go ahead and set that on our YouTube channel, you can vote here momentarily. But first, it is what down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, third down is this. Dylan Sampson will have 150 all-purpose yards.
That's a bold one. This might be the boldest one because they don't usually give the backs. I mean, there's so much of a by committee running back situation at Tennessee. No, I'm going under again. I just don't think he'll get enough touches to get to 150 yards. I'm going to say under. I could see him getting 100. I can't see 150.
I think he's one of 2 guys on Tennessee's roster that I feel confident has big playability, and that's Peyton Lewis, who I don't believe is ready yet, and I think Sampson is the other one to take one the distance. Now, Selden may be that, but he looks hesitant to the hole, which could be vision, could be whatever. The other thing that I think you're going to see Tennessee do in utilizing Dylan Sampson is I think that you're going to see him catch a lot of balls out of the flat, catch a lot of those little shifts into the middle of the field. So I think Dylan Sampson runs the football well, but I think he's going to be a factor in Tennessee's passing game too. As we'll get to fourth down, the show always represented by Banks & Jones. Go to banksandjones.com. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. they'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Mays here. Second down.
Oh, Coop, what are you doing?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
There you go, Coop. Appreciate that. Fourth down on my bold predictions is this. Tennessee will give up 13 or more points to the Mocs. I think the Mocs have a good enough offense, and they'll have some innovative plays to score a real touchdown and then kick 2 or 3 field goals that are practically meaningless in the second half. I'll go back to what I said yesterday and alter it just slightly. My prediction is 35-7 at half, and then 63-13 will be my final score prediction. And I don't think the game's going to be at all close. Caleb?
I actually agree with this. I think they'll hit 13 or higher. I'm with you on the 63-13 or something. I think Tennessee will score in the 60s too. I think they'll do it for a couple of reasons. One, Chattanooga is very experienced at receiver. They're very experienced in their passing game. Has a very good quarterback, very good receivers. Tennessee, while we think is better in the secondary, is still figuring some things out. I think that allows for at least, even if Tennessee secondary outplays them the whole game, that combination, Dave, allows for at least one busted play of some sort, right? In a game somewhere.
Would certainly think so. And let's be honest. I mean, this Tennessee secondary, Caleb, yeah, we think they're good, but we don't know they're good. We don't know their chemistry. And I don't think Tennessee has an elite defensive backs coach in Willie Martinez. Now, I think he's been hampered by a lack of talent, but I mean, other than what we've been told, we don't know that Tennessee's secondary is going to be markedly better than it's been in the past.
No, I agree. We don't know that. And even if they are, there's going to be some growing pains because of how new they are. And given how experienced Chattanooga is, I just think that lends itself to a busted coverage here or there, which I'm with you, probably allows a touchdown. And then I think it's going to be like what you saw a few years ago, or in 2022. Tennessee will be up by so much in the second half. They're going to pull everybody and play bear coverage, and they'll let Chattanooga score maybe a couple of meaningless touchdowns or field goals. I mean, I think Josh Heupel has enough respect for Rusty Wright to maybe let him score a couple of meaningless touchdowns in the end. Let's be honest, Dave. Heupel doesn't have the vendetta against Rusty Wright that he had against who was the UT Martin head coach, the one whose son committed to Alabama?
Oh, I don't know, but I think that's an interesting question if it comes down to it, and I think it's Josh Heupel's nature to tack on points, especially if he doesn't like you, Eli Drinkwitz. But I think it's his nature to tack on points just because he likes stats and he likes running up the score. Does he look at Rusty Wright or an in-state school any differently, Caleb?
I think he'll tack on stats offensively, but I think he'll call off the dogs defensively enough. I think that's what he does a lot of times. He wants to tack on the offensive stats, but he doesn't mind if he puts his backup defenders in there and calls off the defensive stats or the defensive guys and let them score late. I think he had it out for Jason Simpson, the head coach of UT Martin, for Jason Simpson's son, Ty Simpson, committing to Alabama. Look, I think Josh Heupel has a little bit of Last Dance Michael Jordan in him. I think he takes random things personally and gets very offended by personal things, just like for like the most menial things, and he uses it to just upset himself.
Oh, I don't think he has a little bit of that in him. I think he's got a lot of that in him. I think most competitive people are like that. You find little things to continue to motivate you. So, yeah, if he hangs 50 on Chattanooga, I could see him saying in his mind, 60 wouldn't be bad. What is our poll question on the YouTube page, Caleb Calhoun? What are we going with? Does it have anything to do with a guy named
Iamaleava?
It's his debut, and I know you can say Iowa was, but it's been a long time since a freshman started the season at Tennessee. And we did the research, and we're going to have it for you later. But what's our poll question?
Will Nico Iamaleava's Heisman odds increase after Chattanooga? 60% say yes.
Don't give us an answer yet, because it's brought to you by Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. Well, I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Check the poll question. 100% of the people say go to Medicare Misty because she's licensed in over 40 states. So wherever you're watching or listening, and her services are absolutely free. All right, Caleb, where do we stand on the poll question?
All right, so we have 22 voters. 64% say, so again, the question is, will Nico Iamaleava's Heisman odds increase after Chattanooga? 64% say yes, he will light it up. But 36%, Dave, say no, he's going to get pulled too early. They think Nico's going to be so dominant that he's going to get pulled before he can really get the stats he needs to be on the Heisman front. And if you get pulled too early, you can't really increase your odds because you're playing Chattanooga.
True, but I think his Heisman odds are going to improve significantly. Where is he now? It's about a 16-1, 15-1.
Between 14 and 16-1. And there are roughly 5 quarterbacks ahead of him and then a couple tied. He's always in the range of like 6th to 8th on Heisman odds.
Okay, let me ask you this. Can we reset the poll question?
Maybe. Ready.
Okay. I don't know. This might be too complicated to get in the poll question. So let me just ask you this. I think his odds will be like 9-1 on Sunday.
I think they're going to increase, but only slightly. I think it'll be 13-1. I think because which of these quarterbacks is going to, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but a lot of the people he's competing with, they're not going to do enough to hurt their Heisman odds, particularly like say Carson Beck throws for 250 yards and they beat Clemson. That's going to help his Heisman odds more than throwing for 300 yards against Chattanooga would help Nico's.
I could see that. But you can only lose a Heisman in September. You can't win a Heisman in September or August, as the case may be. I'm going to switch up gears a little bit on you based off our run sheet that we went through at 3:45 a.m. this morning, and just go ahead and change it right now. Who is standing in the way of Nico Iamaleava in terms of winning the Heisman? I watched Shedeur Sanders last night, and that dude is an elite quarterback. Good for him. You may not like his dad. He has no chance of winning the Heisman because of his absolute lack of protection. They got pushed around at times. He had to overcome tremendous pressure at other times. In fact, he helped himself in looking like an NFL prospect in my mind, but you can't win the Heisman if you're throwing the football from your back, Caleb.
Yeah, Shedeur Sanders is, I mean, I know people are going to laugh. It was just North Dakota State. I don't really care. I watched enough of that game last night.
That was a good football team last year, and they're supposed to be better this year. We're going to get to the NC State game. That was fluky-ish, but this wasn't.
No, I agree. Shedeur Sanders is an incredible quarterback. I would, if I'm an NFL team, I would trade up to try to get him right now. But you're right. He's not good. There's no way he can win the Heisman. He's good. Dave, once he gets into Big 12 play, he's going to be on his back every play. I'd almost shut down the season if I were him and not even play. Just go to the draft.
I wonder if his dad would do that, because that team's not going to win over 5 games at the very most, at the absolute ceiling. Agree, disagree?
I think they can get to 6, but it would be tough.
Okay. I'm not so sure.
Because there's a lot. You got to remember, there's a lot of teams with soft lines in the Big 12 that are very soft up front.
Who else stands in Nico's way? One that you and I disagree on is a guy with a red helmet.
Yeah, so Carson Beck has the second highest Heisman odds wherever you go. He stands in Nico Iamaleava's way. He's roughly like plus 700 to 900 in that range, depending on the sports book you go with. I don't think Carson Beck is going to win the Heisman. I don't think it's possible for a Georgia quarterback to win the Heisman, because I don't think Kirby Smart would let them. Kirby Smart's not Nick Saban. He doesn't up the tempo of his offense to score a lot of points like Saban did in 2014 with Bryce Young. Kirby Smart's winning very old school style football. And Carson Beck, while he will be very efficient, I don't think he's going to be able to rack up enough stats. And also, I think that, quite honestly, Dave, I think it's going to work against him that he plays on Georgia. I think there's just too much talent around him.
A couple things. If he's the quarterback for the national championship team, you're not going to know that at the time, but if he's a quarterback for the number 1 seed, let's say going into the college football playoff, a lot of voters that are lazy are going to base it off that. And I'm a Heisman voter and I stress about it. Spend a couple of hours every Sunday before my vote has to be in, but a lot of people don't. And they're just going to take the easy way out. So I would disagree that Carson Beck can't win the Heisman. I also think he's an incredibly gifted quarterback in terms of touch. So,
can I throw just another thing?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Yes.
Okay, this is weird, but this is very important for a place like Georgia. I think Carson Beck has some leadership quality issues that Stetson Bennett didn't have. And I think that's more important for Georgia than your actual skills.
Well, to say anybody's as good of a leader as Stetson Bennett would be tough to do. So, but I don't know. Why do you think Carson Beck has leadership issues?
Well,
because he has a Lambo.
I was going to, the mistakes that Georgia made in the Alabama game last year, they wouldn't have made with Stetson Bennett. And the Lambo stuff did kind of, I don't think, I get it. You're a quarterback, you're making an AL. I don't want my quarterback doing that, though. If I'm going to be honest. Can
I tell you this? I mean, Nico, after he signed the Beats by Dre deal, went and bought a couple of cars. And he didn't flash it everywhere. That's what I was getting ready to say.
Oh, okay.
He didn't flash them everywhere and put them out everywhere. So maybe you're on to something. Maybe as a quarterback, you don't do that sort of thing. I've said before that the offensive guard is fine with the quarterback making more money because he's always been fine with the quarterback getting more attention, Caleb. But at some point, you're kind of rubbing their nose in it if you share your Lambo on social media, right?
Put it this way. The offensive guard is fine with the quarterback dating the hottest girl in school, right?
Yes.
But you don't. But you know what you don't do if you're the quarterback? You don't steal your offensive guard's girlfriend just because you can.
No. I don't know. A player stole the starting quarterback's girlfriend one time, 2 weeks after showing up on campus.
Well, yeah, that's kind of funny. But yes, if you're the quarterback, typically the rule is you don't mess with your teammates' girlfriends because you can get whoever you want, and they probably have a less of a selection pool than you do. So that's just wrong. Now, I'm that way with NIL. Like, don't flash your NIL. I mean, Peyton Manning. Let's just call. I know we always go to Peyton Manning when we're covering Tennessee, but could you ever see Peyton Manning flaunting anything he bought if he was making NIL money?
Man, that's a really good point. In and of itself, is Carson Beck a poor leader because he flashed the Lambo?
I get Johnny Manziel vibes.
Wait a second. Johnny Manziel vibes? I mean, Johnny Manziel went and coked himself into 130 pounds.
But, the whole flashing the money sign, just like rubbing everybody's face in it. Now, to be fair, there was some leadership in that way because he was kind of saying it's us at Texas A&M against the world. They're trying to bring us down and we're all doing this. So let's party it up. So maybe it's a little bit, but Carson Beck flashing the Lambo you're right. Your starting offensive lineman can't get that Lambo.
All right. Some other guys that could potentially win the Heisman and give me their odds if you've got them pulled up. 3 names that come to mind, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, so Dylan Gabriel's the favorite among everybody to win the Heisman this year. And I understand that people are impressed by what was done with Bo Nix last year at Oregon. He was turned into an NFL draft pick, and now he's got the starting job at Denver, by the way, when we thought he was just a total waste at Auburn. So I think people are looking at that, and they're very high on Oregon. I got no argument against Dylan Gabriel. I think that's going to be Nico's biggest competition. Quinn Ewers, I think Texas is going to have a bit of a drop-off this year. I think they were overrated last year. They got to the playoff because they beat an Alabama team that, let's just be honest, in the first month of the season was not what you would think Alabama is. And so I think that's going to be exposed. Will Howard at Ohio State, better than Kyle McCord was last year, but he doesn't have the receivers that Kyle McCord had, and I think the transfer portal lack of chemistry is going to be an issue. The other two legitimate threats at other people ahead of Nico and other sites, Dave. One is Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. I will say watch out for him. If Lane Kiffin can make this thing work, Jackson Dart might have a Jaden Daniels type year.
My thoughts on Dart, yes, if it works, could run away with it. Might not be a factor in October. Dylan Gabriel seems like the default to me. He seems like he's sitting there and somebody's going to either take it away from him or he's just going to get it because somebody didn't. Does that make sense? I mean, I think Dylan Gabriel's good, but I don't think he's elite. He'll put up great numbers. We know that. As far as Quinn Ewers, I mean, I like Quinn Ewers. I like Texas. I think they're pretty good this year. But I'm telling you right now, I would put the money on Nico because it's a 16-1. And it's going to change significantly. I just put the link. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to throw, because we talked a lot about Carson Beck. I think Shedeur might be in that category too, by the way. One of the reasons he won the Heisman, he didn't have a lot of help. Maybe one of the reasons he doesn't have a lot of help, he's not a good enough leader to make linemen want to block for him.
No, those dudes were just out physical. I just thought they were out physical. I mean, maybe. I don't know. But that whole team's in dysfunction, and I think you're going to continue to see that. I will be at an awesome location today, and I just put it in our description page on YouTube. Please hit like and subscribe. So I'll be at Sono Throwback and Threads this afternoon from 4 to 6. You can check them out, and I will have a book signing there. So I'll be signing Celebrate 98. Behind the story for Tennessee's 1998 national championship team. So stop by and see me from 4 to 6 at Sono Throwback and Threads. And if enough people stop by, then we'll have Caleb wear a dress from Sono Throwback and Threads. Are you up for that? Your microphone's muted, but the answer's no, right?
I'm not a guy who wears a dress. Nope. I am not a cross-dresser. If someone is, I am not here to judge. That is their business and they can do it. And I have no problem with it, but that is not me.
Yep. Fair enough. Do you think I ever cross-dressed?
Maybe because you were acting in a play or something. I think that might be why. Maybe because you for a costume, but not like just regularly. I don't think you would.
Did Dave cross-dress at one point with Caleb Calhoun? I'm Dave Hooker, and I'll give you the honest.
Cross-dressing hookers are the best, man. Didn't Eddie Murphy pick one up?
I'll give you the honest answer in 2 minutes off the Hook Sports if you hit that like and subscribe button.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford & Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2023 Ford Expedition Limited 4x4 $67,950, 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor SVT $41,950, 2023 Ford Escape ST Line $28,940. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win. banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
What'd you think of NC State last night? We'll dig into that because they didn't look fantastic, but I think I have a unique take there, given I've covered games like that. So we shall discuss. As I remind you that, again, I will be from 4 to 6 at our good friends Sono Throwback and Threads signing the Celebrate 98 book. And we certainly hope that you can stop by and say hello, and I will be glad to sign that for you. If you would also like to purchase that, you can do it right here. Celebrate 98, the untold stories behind Tennessee's 1998 national championship. You can also, if you would like to, be eligible for a Garmin watch, thanks to our good friends at Rick Terry and Rick Terry Jewelry Design. All you have to do is be subscribed to this station, and you can be a free member of Hooker's Corner. So we hit 8,000 subscribers, which is just right around the corner. Just by being a free member and a subscriber here, we're going to draw a name out of a hat, and we are going to give one person a Garmin watch. Now, if you would like to win that Joe Milton autographed helmet right over my shoulder, it's orange with a white stripe. You do need to be a paid member, just $9.98, and that's all. Thanks to our friends at Sports Treasures, they provide the absolute best prizes. Go ahead and click on that QR code now. Become a member of Hooker's Corner. We'll have an in-game chat as well. Looking forward to that. Our post-game show, The Last Look, brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, will be coming up after the game on Saturday. So a lot going on. And then Sports Treasures, Knoxville's oldest card shop, 35 years. How about that? 35 years. Knoxville's oldest card shop, over 5 million sports treasures. It is time for what the H, and it has to do with the Wolfpack. Did you watch them last night? Paris Hilton did not say this during that game.
That's hot.
No, it was not. What the H is brought to you by our good friends at Quality Tire Pro.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
So, North Carolina State and Western Carolina, a Division II foe, just like Tennessee will face tomorrow, were tied at half. It took a fourth quarter for NC State to survive what would have been a monumental upset, and the kind of upset that even though there's a 12-team playoff and you can play your way back in, that could have been one right there, Caleb, that knocks you out of playoff contention because it's such a bad loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, it also says you're not a very good football team. So let me get your immediate reaction on NC State. And I want that on the poll question. I want that on our message board. I want your thoughts on NC State, because I'm sure you watch them, and Tennessee should handle Chattanooga. So NC State is a top 25 team, and we all said, look out for them. I never said that, but a lot of people did. Caleb, just give me your thoughts on NC State.
So, look, I'm going to be fair to them on this regard with NC State. You ever watched a game where you've covered them, Dave, where one team outplays the other, but just a bunch of random things happen that make the game way closer than it should be? I think that was the case here more than anything. So let's just break down what happened. In the first quarter, NC State throws an interception. Happens. And Western Carolina gets their first touchdown. Happens, right? Football all the time. Make a mistake, allow a touchdown.
Yes, it happens for a sixth-year senior to not be on the same page. One was reading man and the other was reading zone. I thought that was troublesome out of the chute, but Go ahead.
But it's also his first year in the system, Grayson McCall's. So it's not like he's been here for a while. So I
That's
think,
true, but he's older than Tom Brady. But anyway.
but the growing pains are there. Okay, so that happens. And then there's a 50-yard play allowed on a busted coverage on the other side. Again, something that just happens. And then in the second quarter, they had 2 touchdown drives that they should have had that were stopped because they couldn't convert a 4th and 1 because they do the thing of let me get in shotgun and run the ball on 4th and 1. And I hate it when coaches do that. But it wasn't like NC State wasn't moving the ball way better than Western Carolina. I mean, they had over 500 yards of offense. I think what really stood out to me, Dave, it actually wasn't Grayson McCall's issues. He threw for over 300 yards. He was in there longer than he wanted to be. But I just bring up those 2 4th down plays. NC State did not look vastly superior in the trenches. Did you notice that? The line of scrimmage, they did not look like they were vastly superior to an FCS school.
I agree, and they're limited, I think, in skill position players, which could play a factor in the heat if it's a particularly hot day. I like Concepcion. I like their first-string skill players. I don't know that they have a lot of depth behind that. Grayson McCall is a quarterback that throws a decent touch pass, does not have a big arm. He's not going to, where would he be in the SEC among quarterbacks?
Well, this year he would barely be top 10, but Dave, that's not fair. This is probably the best year in history for SEC quarterbacks.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be in the top 10. So, I mean, you're going to have Tennessee face a lot better quarterbacks than Grayson McCall this year. I think Tennessee's going to be fine there unless that secondary is a real issue. Here's the other thing that I wouldn't get overly confident based off that game alone. I'm incredibly confident that Tennessee is going to beat NC State. I was in March. I was in June. I am now. I haven't changed my thoughts that Tennessee wins 10 games this season. But I have been around a lot of these Lightning games, and it seemed like Tennessee was involved in like a Lightning game once a year, every 3 or 4 years. I mean, it seemed like it. Do you remember that? One was the Arkansas game, and then there was another.
The Travis Stevens 200-yard game. Yeah, that's what I talked about.
And there was like another North Texas game or something, but it just seemed like that was happening a lot. Donald Trump, well, it's not global warming. But anyway, those things get herky and jerky and weird. Now, I'll say this. They put the ball on the ground a lot, at least 5 times that I counted. Now, it wasn't counted as a fumble every time because the knee was just barely down. But I guarantee you the first thing that went through Josh Heupel's mind is work on stripping the ball, and then work on stripping the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee's able to force 2 or 3 turnovers just based off fumbles alone next week. Now, is it an advantage being able to see NC State for Tennessee, or is it more of an advantage for NC State to have a couple of more days to prepare for Tennessee?
I actually think it's more of an advantage for Tennessee because they saw NC State running their legit offense because they had to actually run some things to make sure they put this game away, which is a huge help no matter who you face. I mean, we haven't talked about this, Dave, but you think there's a chance that's one of the things that helped Florida against Tennessee last year was Tennessee was struggling to put away Austin Peay, so they were actually having to run some legit offensive plays that maybe Florida was more prepared for?
Not a crazy idea at all, because you want to be as vanilla as possible. They're never vanilla when it comes to our good friends at the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. The promo code HOOKED for 10% off. And then we really didn't discuss NC State's defense to a great extent, but it just didn't seem to me like they had great playmakers. I saw last night what I thought I would see, and that was a mid-level ACC team.
Yeah, that's what they've kind of always been. I mean, NC State is somewhat the Kentucky, but of the ACC. And when you're the Kentucky of the ACC, rather than getting 6 or 7 wins to squeak into a bowl game, you get 9 or 10 wins and finish in the top 25. And that's what NC State's consistently been. I wouldn't write them off yet. I still think Grayson McCall is a good quarterback for college. And I do think that there were look, Dave, 5 fluke plays go differently yesterday to NC State's winning that game 55-0. Take away if they get the 2 4.
Okay, but I could go the other way and say a couple more of those fumbles and Western Carolina wins that game. And there's also a personal foul penalty in the first quarter. I know you can be a little bit high in the first game, not, Hemp House chat with 2 T's high, but emotionally high. So, Caleb, when it comes down to it, in a coaching matchup, are you taking Dave Dorn or Josh Heupel?
No, I'm taking Josh Heupel. I mean, obviously, I'm taking Josh Heupel. But Dave Dorn was on the list of candidates Tennessee tried to hire in 2017 after killing the Greg Schiano hire. That's a funny story on its own. But I'm taking Josh Heupel. I'm just saying, okay, they don't put the ball on the ground so much. Say they just convert the 2 4th and 1s and they don't throw that interception. You're all of a sudden looking at, I just gave you 2 more touchdowns and took away an NC State touchdown. All of a sudden, 38-21 is 52-14.
Okay, it sounds like we're apologizing for NC State's poor performance. I'm saying that lightning plays an issue. You're saying fluke plays.
I'm saying you can't sit there and say this means that Tennessee's just going to cakewalk them next week.
I don't. No, I think
they could, but you can't. But that doesn't guarantee it.
No, but if you had to bet based off what you saw last year, you're the gambling guy.
Yeah, I would bet Tennessee to cover pretty significantly. But I also am. I will say this: last year Tennessee was hard to bet on because I'm just going to be honest. They had a quarterback that was so. We don't want to bring. Dave, I'm sorry. Joe Milton missed too many easy touchdown passes on deep balls. We keep forgetting about the deep ball accuracy that wasn't there.
That's not. I mean, the deep ball accuracy wasn't even my concern. I mean, it was just the middle of the field accuracy to keep teams honest and get a safety to have to be mindful of who's running over the middle of the field. I don't think that happened.
Well, that's true, but that's the reason I can't. I got no concerns with Nico Iamaleava in Tennessee's offense underperforming with him there. If they underperform this year, then Josh Heupel's offense has been figured out. That's the only explanation.
Which I don't believe will be the case. And if it is, I think it'll change it. Portions of the program brought to you by our fantastic friends at Quality Tire Pro. Quality Tire Pros, the Eberle family, has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive brake alignments, oil changes, and more. All work covered by nationwide warranty in Chattanooga, Cherokee Boulevard, or online, qualitytirepros.com, qualitytirepros.com. Tell Bo that Dave and Off the Hook Sports said, hello. What if the game tomorrow plays out like the NC State game?
Red flags galore. I mean, red flags galore. It's time for Tennessee to freak out. It's panic time if it plays like that.
Okay. I'm going to set this up as our next poll question, but first, it's this. NC State scares me blank. A little, a lot, not one bit. Vote on our YouTube page now. Where would you stand on that? And then I want to get back to if Tennessee were to play like NC State did last night.
With NC State, I would just say a little. And I would still say a little because I think Tennessee's got its own kinks that they got to work out. And whatever you want to say about him, Grayson McCall is a 6th-year senior who has a history of success at quarterback. He could maybe give the secondary some trouble. So I would still say a little, and I'm not going to overreact to a sloppy game against a Division II school. Heck, Michigan came within one game of winning the Big Ten one year, and they lost to Appalachian State in their opener.
Yes, but that was before they were stealing signs. So I'm not worried one bit about NC State. I don't. I think. Okay, so NC State have a greater chance of keeping it within 10 than Chattanooga has of keeping it within 30.
Yes. I don't think Chattanooga will keep this game within 30. NC State will keep. I guarantee you, Tennessee's winning this game by. I think the spread should be 50. But
now, I think they cover both easily. I don't think. What do you think the spread will be if Tennessee does what it's supposed to do?
Oh, I think Tennessee will be 17 to 20 point favorites next week if they do what they should do against Chattanooga.
Wow. Okay.
And by the way, one other one that affects Tennessee that we got to talk about, Dave, because I told you this for a while. I said that Tennessee will be the story of college football after the Oklahoma game. Remember I told you that?
Mm-hmm, you did.
When they're going to be 3-0 going into Oklahoma. All the college football world will be on that game, and they're going to light it up with Nico, and Josh Heupel is going to just run up the score and try to humiliate him. That's when Nico becomes the Heisman favorite, and Tennessee's the talk of the town. I'm doubling down on that after last night, and here's why I'm doubling down on it. Because of Coach Prime and Deion Sanders, I thought Colorado would still, this national media, if Colorado's a threat, they wouldn't stop talking about him, and they would do everything they can to cover him. I think Colorado will not be a story by the end of September. So I think now Tennessee has a clear path to be the story of college football when October comes around.
Good stuff. Jimmy Holmes' column, his prediction column is coming up. Mine's up. I have Tennessee winning 63-13. I have the tight ends having a big day. I have the defense giving up about 13 points. People probably wonder, why didn't you do more on defense, Dave? Because I'm going to pass 4 things along that I feel certain about. And there may be a week that it's 3 things. There may be a week that it's 5 things. But based off conversations I have, I feel really strong about what I put down. And that included, which is rather bold, 350 yards passing in the first half for Nico and 150 yards offensively for one Dylan Sampson. So Jimmy Himes joins us every Wednesday. His prediction column is going up shortly on offthehooksports.com. And by the way, we hit just a monster number over the last 30 days in terms of people going to offthehooksports.com. So greatly appreciate that. Jimmy's column goes up here in just a bit. Jimmy's appearance is brought to you by Ray Varner Ford.
And the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford in Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2023 Ford Expedition Limited 4x4 $67,950, 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor SVT $41,950, 2023 Ford Escape ST Line $28,940. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
So coming up, we're going to visit with Chattanooga reporter Gene Henley. And the reason I want to have him on is because he spent a couple years actually covering the Vols, covering UT when they sent him up here. And so now he covered UTC before then and after. So I'm just interested. I haven't been to a Division II football practice. I've been to more high school practices than I can count. I've been to, I think we figured it up like 3,000 college football practices in my life. But I haven't been to a Division II football practice. So I don't know, just looking at it, how different the athletes are, but I would imagine they're quite different, Caleb.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. So
go ahead. So, do we want to get to this day in Tennessee sports history or the stat of the day? Where are we here?
Let's get to Danny White. Let's talk a little bit about Danny White real quick.
All right. Danny White, as we mentioned yesterday, gets a lot of money. The highest paid athletic director in what, Caleb?
The highest paid athletic director in the SEC and among all public college ADs.
So that's good money if you can get it. In retrospect, because that happened right before we went on the air, I absolutely love the move because I think it is emblematic of Tennessee's philosophy. And that is believe a little bit and you'll be taken care of. Cooper Mace, believe in this program. Stay an extra year and you'll be taken care of. Brew McCoy, come back. You'll be taken care of. Now, I know there were extenuating circumstances in those, but we don't know all of those that came back that could have gone. I'm sure there were some guys that thought about leaving that had an offer from somewhere else, Caleb. And from what we've been told, they let the defensive backs go who weren't very good. They let Tyler Barron go, who apparently didn't like Rodney Garner. I'm not aware that they lost anybody that they really, really wanted. And I'm not talking about what's reported. I'm talking about people I've spoken to. I don't think they lost anybody that they said, man, he's a real necessity for the program, or that we even like.
Right. And look, on principle, I'm actually okay with having paid Danny White what they paid him. I'll be honest with you on that. I'm going to come at it, though, from a different perspective, Dave, and you can push back on me if you want with this, but I do think it's ironic that Danny White is the highest paid athletic director in the SEC when on new hires, he's shelling out the least amount of money, it seems like, of any major college football program to make them. And
okay, but Caleb, that speaks to my point. Who are his primary hires? Kim Caldwell and Josh Heupel.
Kim Caldwell and Josh Heupel. He
inherited Rick Barnes. So Kim Caldwell on the cheap, that's a non-revenue sport. So sorry, but that's just kind of where you are. So I understand the spending from a budgetary standpoint. Josh Heupel, they couldn't have done any better than Josh Heupel. At that point, I don't know that they could have gotten Dave Doran with the backdrop. So did they hire him on the cheap? Probably, but did Tennessee have any other option? I seriously doubt it. They were a disaster in the background. So if Josh Heupel, I guess my question is this. If Josh Heupel wins a championship or two and the Dallas Cowboys hire him away,
okay,
do you think that Danny White would be able to do in Alabama? And what was in Alabama? They went from Saban to one of the best youngish coaches in the nation. He just played for a college football playoff and played in the college football playoff. And you're able to hire him away from his school. That's kind of embarrassing for Washington. But Caleb, do you think Danny White would do that? Because I think he would. I don't think he would be on the cheap if he had the money and he had the backdrop to go out and woo somebody.
Okay, so that's where the real question comes. And I actually think that Danny White still may make the hire on the cheap because of what you just talked about. The belief that you earn your stripes and then you get your pay at Tennessee. And also Danny White, I'll say this, with his getting out ahead of the curve of NIL, I think Danny White kind of knows that half of a coach's success is the support from the administration. And I think he knows the administration is going to make it significantly easier for any coach he hires to be successful. So I think because of that, he'll still go for the unknown commodity that nobody sees coming. And that's just always been his hiring method. Here's the funny thing, Dave, about this, and this is the truth. That type of hiring, if it doesn't work, you get really mad at the athletic director, right?
Sure.
I mean, if the athletic director hires a no name that you're like, where'd they hire him from? And then it's a disaster. They look even worse. Nobody gets mad at an athletic director if you threw a bunch of money at Jimbo Fisher or Brian Kelly because you wanted to try to win a national title and it doesn't work out. No one's going to get mad at you for that. They are going to get mad though if you went cheap and tried to hire a no name like Ron Zook at Florida in 2001 or 2002 to just and think you identified somebody that nobody did and then it fails. Danny White always takes that risk when he's hiring, and it seems to always work out. So I think that's why it pays off for him so well. Now, and then you're right. Once you produce, he will pay you. I don't think he would make the Kalen DeBoer hire if he were at Alabama had that job opened up. I think he would have identified somebody that nobody saw coming, and it would have been a no name, and everybody would have been upset with the hire at the time, because I think that's what Danny White does.
I tend to disagree. It obviously matters what's happening at that point in college football, but I actually think that Danny White's underpaid, and here's why. Because we're thinking about he's one of the most highest paid athletic directors in college football, right?
Right.
Are you telling me that Danny White, with what he has done with NIL, with what he has done with the Neyland Entertainment District, which you can hate it or love it, that's up to you, but that's raising a lot of money. Are you telling me he wouldn't be a great GM for a football team in the NFL? Are you telling me he couldn't do other things? With his ability to raise money, Mike Hamilton was a great example. He raised a ton of money for charity after things didn't work out at Tennessee. Those guys have that innate ability. You have to look at Danny White as a businessman that Apple could poach, that somebody else could poach. I think this is bigger than just the SEC or college football.
I think the raising money part is what's unique about White is actually not the raising money part, though. I think it's the hiring. I think it's the way he identifies coaches before anybody else. I've never seen an athletic director as good at it as he is. So I'm with you with the raising money part. Dave, I actually might agree with you that he's underpaid. Here's why with the philosophy. I'm not even knocking the going cheap hire, because if it works out, it works out. Here's White's philosophy. I want to be cheap in hiring on the front end, but I'll shell out money if they're successful. And here's why. If they're successful, the fans will show up and you'll have the money to shell out. Tennessee is one of those programs, right, Dave, where if a program is winning, I don't care what it is, track and field even, whatever the sports program is, if that program is winning, the fan support for that program will be top 5 relative to any other program in that sport in the country. Is that fair to say?
Very, very fair to say. We're joined by John Adams each and every Tuesday. We love John. We're going to have This Day in Tennessee Sports History for you in 15 seconds. Pressure's on, Caleb, with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. The show is always represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Other attorneys say they'll go to trial. They won't. Banks & Jones. Guys, support our sponsors. That's why we're here. Banks & Jones.
5th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
All right, This Day in Tennessee Sports History. Is that what we're doing?
Yes. And we finally are in the moment to be able to do this. It is August the 30th, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And why is
Please
that
tell me
relevant?
there's a football game. Please tell me
There's a football game. There's a football game. And actually one of the most significant football games in Tennessee history that helped them become the program they were in the 90s. And
was it Colorado with Eric Bieniemy in that kickoff classic that they had?
You are actually on the right track, but it's before that.
Okay, wait, let me see if I can get it then. Now you've got me interested. Okay, so it was an early season game, early 90s, correct?
Nope. Go before that.
Okay, so 80-ish?
Yep.
And so tell me the question again, and then we're going to I want to see if people – I want to give people a second on the message board. What is it again?
In the 1980s, Tennessee opened the season 1 year in a fashion in which would lay the foundation for why they became the elite program of the 90s, which one of the things that helped them become the elite program of the 90s. And yeah, they did that on August the 30th, which is today.
Okay, what is it? I don't know.
1987, Tennessee opens in the Kickoff Classic in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Oh, it's Rutgers.
No.
Iowa, that's right. I almost said the New Jersey game, that stupid kickoff classic that they had. Why do you think that led to greater fortunes for the Vols?
This was the first significant time Tennessee opened against a major program this early in the season before anybody else did. Tennessee was number 17. Iowa was number 16. It was in Giant Stadium. Tennessee won 23-22 off a Phil Wright field goal with 3 seconds remaining. Reggie Cobb was the star, 25 carries for 138 yards. They won a thriller. They made a name for themselves winning this game. And then they started scheduling the stuff like this regularly, which is why they did Colorado, you said it, which is why they would go to UCLA, why they would go to Syracuse. This started all of that. And they went to Louisville. Derek is right. This allowed them, they would always play an early season game against a high profile opponent away from home when no other SEC team would do that. And that allowed Tennessee to recruit nationally in the 90s.
Uncle Barry, they would say. No, they did. And you know what it did? It got them on TV. You think nowadays, I mean, you're talking to somebody who rewatched the NC State game last night in a 28-minute condensed version. You couldn't do that back in the day, I mean, you weren't even necessarily on television.
No, you're absolutely right. And this was when
that was a big recruiting pitch. That's a great point, Caleb. Not to interrupt you, but that's what they would tell kids. Say your family is going to be able to see you on TV. Whereas if you go to Arizona State, they're only going to see like maybe 1 or 2 games.
Yeah. And this is why, by the way, Doug Dickey has always been the most cutting edge sports guy in Tennessee history. He took over in the 60s. And what did he do, Dave, when he was head coach? He introduced running through the tee, the power tee, all the helmet, coined Big Orange Country, and he integrated Tennessee football. He was the coach who did it. Then he becomes athletic director in 85. This was a Doug Dickey move. And it was brilliant. Now, you could say Doug Dickey was way too old fuddy-duddy because he didn't care about any other sport on campus whatsoever. Okay. But lucky for him.
I'm just going to tell you this. I'm glad you're this day in Tennessee sports history had to do with football. That's what I'm most excited about. In 2 minutes, Gene Henley is going to tell you the difference between a UTC athlete and a University of Tennessee Knoxville athlete. By the way, I hate it when you're in Chattanooga and people say UT Knoxville. No, I'm sorry. That's just UT.
People
Texas.
do that in Memphis even. People do that in Memphis. UT Knoxville.
When the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford and Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Step up your game in this 24 Ford Maverick Hybrid, 25,515, 23 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, 30,995, 24 Ford F-250 Crew Cab 4x4 STX, 59,757. Local you trust, performance you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Did you notice the ball being on the ground a lot in that NC State game? Or is that just me?
No, I definitely noticed it being on the ground a lot in the NC State game.
I mean, do you say wet football, there was a little bit of rain, late start, or is this like a ball
Dave,
security issue?
you know more. You covered the Tennessee team that didn't know how to snap the ball against Florida in the rain.
That was the new football. Do you want to hear the funny story about the new football?
I want the Uncle Dave story. Let's go.
So we get word that they're going to use new footballs. And I think, were they going to Wilson or were they going to Nike? So we get this person that reaches out to us and they say, would you like some footballs to give away? Now, for those of you that haven't priced a football lately, back then they were about $60, a real NCAA football. They're probably 80, 90. Wouldn't surprise me if they're more than that now. They sent us a box that you could barely carry through the average size door of footballs. Now, there were certainly some given away to our lucky listeners at the time in what became the sports animal. But let's just say that Dave still has a couple, and it was a football kind of Christmas for some of his friends.
Really?
There were like 16 footballs, Caleb.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That is
stunned.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Also, I'll tell you another Uncle Dave story. They used to send me stuff, and they sent me like a box of whiskey to try on the day that I started a cleanse one day. It was a Kentucky Trail whiskey, and I'd started a cleanse that day. Do you think I made it through the day without trying that whiskey that was free in front of me? Hell no, I didn't.
All right, can I?
There were those little airplane bottles. There were like 6 of them. They were gone by the end of the night.
So you ready for this one? I did a vegan challenge one time with my wife. We went vegan for 3 weeks to see if we could pull it off, and we stuck with it. But on one of those days, I found out I had won an award for a newspaper I was working at, and so you know this day when you win press awards and you go to the luncheon where they announce everybody, and at those award shows they feed you amazing dinners, don't they?
No, definitely.
And, I mean, I had
Did you cheat?
Sorry.
Did you cheat?
I did not. I passed up a delicious steak dinner. That to this day, I salivate. I'm like, what did I miss?
Okay, new poll question as we wait for Gene Henley with the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Is going to join us. If I had, can you put this on YouTube? If I had to give up one, it would be meat, alcohol, or football. Meat, alcohol, or football. I'm curious on the message board. Which Stephen wants one of those footballs from Uncle. They're gone, buddy, and they're non-snappable according to Casey Clausen because he had 5 fumbles in one game. Was it? I think they only lost 3, but did he have 5?
I think so. There was one drive where 3 straight snaps he fumbled it all 3 times.
And it was on the goal line, too. It was an absolute fiasco. So Gene Henley scheduled to join us shortly. Time for the stat of the day. And the stat of the day is brought to you by our fantastic friends at the UPS store, Hardin Valley, here to help individuals and small businesses by offering a wide range of products and services locally owned and operated. I love them. UPS store, Hardin Valley, the link right down below. UPS store, Hardin Valley, 10629 Hardin Valley Road. All righty, Caleb, what is yours? What would you give up if you had to give up meat, alcohol, or football?
This is going to sound alcoholic, but man, I'm probably giving up meat. And I love meat. I do. I love meat, but I like alcohol more. I'm sorry, I do.
I'm going to sound like an alcoholic. It's always a good way to start a sentence. I sometimes like starting business meetings just like that. Or maybe my visit with Kiwanis Clubs to talk about my book. I like to start out, hi, my name is Dave Hooker with Off the Hook Sports. I may sound like an alcoholic, and then it kind of turns into an AA meeting. Now, funny enough, I actually don't drink, but if I had to choose even back in the day when I did, it would probably be meat because of this weird documentary that I saw recently about how we're supposed to be herbivores. I'm still looking back into that, and I'm going to ask you about your vegan diet because I need.
Well, it's more actually. I would give up meat from a health perspective, guys. I would just tell you in this country what they put in our meat. It's more dangerous than alcohol. I mean, it is. I mean, it's factually.
It actually is listed as a level 1 carcinogen with plutonium and cigarettes. This is true.
Alcohol is?
No, meat.
Oh, okay.
I've got a documentary you got to see, but that's the story for another day. So, stat of the day. Yes,
stat of the day is ready. Now, technically, even though he's a second-year player, Nico Iamaleava is listed as a freshman, just a redshirt freshman.
Mm-hmm. This one's going to blow you away, everybody.
The last time anybody with the freshman title at quarterback for Tennessee started the season, not started like during the season, no, started the opening game of that season, is also the only time a freshman quarterback for Tennessee ever started the opening game of a season.
Give everybody a second. Wait. Give everybody a second if you know who it is, because if you know who it is, I'm pretty impressed. I'll give you a bit of a hint. I covered this team, and it was between two freshman quarterbacks to start the season. So let's see if anybody gets it on the message board. All right, we'll give you just a bit on that. And maybe somebody gets it. I'll hook you up with a prize. Asia Cafe, treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine, handcrafted from guarded family secrets. 5 locations to choose from. AsiaCafe.org. That's AsiaCafe.org. And they've got that 6-to-1 Brazilian coffee, energy booster, premix, instant white coffee, the golden label coffee bag with the Lim family on it since 1909. I love the Calhoun location where they've got a strong Polynesian connection, just like the Vols. I was there. My chef's chopping it up for me. It wasn't hibachi. It was he called it Polynesian hibachi. So it's fantastic. All right. There we go. Somebody got it finally. Who is it, Caleb?
It is Brent Schaefer. That's right. Tennessee in 2004 on a Monday night, Labor Day night, faced UNLV and beat them 42-17. The debate was down to Brent Schaefer and Eric Ainge. They mostly split time, but Brent Schaefer was 7-10 for 123 yards and a touchdown, and also ran for 29 yards and another touchdown. Eric Ainge was 10-17 for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Neither threw an interception. By week 3, Eric Ainge was clearly the better quarterback, though.
Yeah. For those guys on the message board, I'm still undecided, but watch the documentary, What the Health. What the Health. And you may wonder. Just telling you. Just watch that, and then we'll get back. Gene Henley with the Chattanooga Times Free Press joins us now. Gene, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Can you hear me over here?
I got you loud and clear, man. You look fantastic. You're definitely upping the looks department here with me and Caleb.
Well, I was actually pretty locked in on being here at 11 o'clock, but I had to get a haircut. So that's exactly. So all I got left is my looks, man. Everything else is pretty much gone.
You know what's funny is I've been looking at my hair all day thinking I can't believe I didn't get a haircut before the first game because this part's too long. That part they messed up the last time. But anyway, you're in a really unique position in that you covered Chattanooga, then you covered the Vols, and now you covered Chattanooga. So if you could just describe to me the biggest difference between those two levels of programs.
I would say the size. I think size and depth are the two things. Like I remember, I covered Chattanooga from 2015 to 2018. And then I remember the very first practice. It was late in the 2018 season that I started covering Tennessee. And I remember going to a practice, and one of the first people I saw at that practice was Trey Smith. And I'm like, oh, there we go. Okay, I get it now. It's Chattanooga had a first-round offensive lineman a couple years ago. His name is Cole Strange, who's about 6'5". I think he's probably, or 6'4", 6'5", probably around 300 something pounds now. And then I saw Trey Smith, who was playing left tackle, who was like 6'6", like 330. And then I saw Wanye Morris, and then I saw Darnell Wright. And whereas Chattanooga may have one guy like that, Tennessee's average size on the offensive line is probably in the 300 something pound range, whereas Chattanooga's is around probably 280. Like they've got good guys, but Chattanooga's got good receivers. Their best receiver this year is a guy named Javon Watley, or Sam Phillips, but both of those guys are like 5'9", 5'10", 170, 165 in that range, whereas Tennessee's guys are considerably bigger. So it's really just more of a size and speed thing. I mean, not even speed. It's really just size, I think, and obviously depth, which is, I think, one of the biggest things that'll happen tomorrow. Is just, Chattanooga can go probably 22 for 22 and at least be respectable. But when it gets into like the backups and stuff like that, Chattanooga, Tennessee may have a backup who in a year or two may be playing for Chattanooga, whereas it will be. I would find it hard to believe that Chattanooga has anybody that could play at Tennessee's level.
Yeah, Gene, great to meet you, by the way. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about. It's funny you bring that up because I covered yesterday. I was looking at the key players for Chattanooga for Vols fans to watch out for in case they make this a game at all. And I know Reed Williams and Marlon Taylor were both all Southern Conference, but I left them off the list because I feel like if Chattanooga is going to give Tennessee any sort of trouble, it's going to be at skill positions, right? I mean, even though those are all conference linemen, I just don't see any way at this level they can hang in the trenches if it becomes that type of game.
Over offensive line wise, I would say you're probably right. I mean, Chattanooga does have multiple linemen that have like Amari and Krim will get the start at left tackle. He went to Houston out of high school. The right tackle's his name is Dave Mono. He started his career at Purdue. Like Reed Williams, I think just is a local kid who just really, really wanted to stay at Chattanooga, but he probably could have had some opportunities. They're starting right guard. I don't know. He got banged up last week. This guy named Bryce Goodner that played at Virginia Tech. They've got guys who were Power 5 level players. Now they've only got 4 of them, and so I guess to that point you're probably pretty accurate. But as far as defensive linemen, I mean Marlon Taylor's 6'2", 330, and can move. Quay Wiggles was committed to Georgia Tech at one point out of high school, and I think there was a coaching change or whatever. But I think they can kind of compete somewhat on the lines. Plus, I mean, I know as far as like Tennessee's offensive line, everybody says it's fixed. Get past Cooper Mays and get back to me in terms of like how good. I'm not acting like Chattanooga's about to dominate Tennessee's offensive line. I just don't think much is going to be gleaned from tomorrow's game, and I don't think that there's such an overwhelming factor that Chattanooga will be able to have no success there. But you're probably right as far as the skill players. Chattanooga does have some skill players. They've got some guys that can make plays. They've got some receivers. They've got a couple running backs that I'll be intrigued to see. One kid from Florida transferred in who actually played D2 ball. I don't know how he ended up D2 because he's really explosive. And another kid from Alabama that's really talented. So I will be intrigued to see just kind of how it works out. I mean, I predicted Tennessee to win like 65-10 or something, but I do think that Chattanooga can have some success, which I think, in my opinion, especially the first game of the season, I think all you want to do is walk away with some stuff that says, okay, we can kind of use this and take it to the rest of the season.
So I wanted to talk a little bit of recruiting because we do believe now that Boo Carter is probably at the very least going to compete to start tomorrow. And I think he is going to start in the game, and he is from Chattanooga. Amari Jefferson, also from Chattanooga, went to Alabama. How big of a deal do you think, from your perspective now being in Chattanooga and seeing Boo Carter, how much under Josh Heupel relative to other coaches is Tennessee prioritizing the Chattanooga area and those key guys down there?
Yeah, I think certainly. Like there's a lot, and I'll be intrigued to see what happens in some of these future years, because I think a lot of the guys that are probably at Tennessee's level, they are Chattanooga kind of in, location only. Always say people, Walker Valley High School here in my hometown of Cleveland, Tennessee, gets to claim that Jock McClendon was a Walker Valley grad. Everybody knows he played at Baylor. Whereas a lot of the Baylor and Macaulay guys now are like Canadians and stuff. Like they're not actually from Chattanooga. But in Boo's case, Boo was obviously a Chattanooga product who played his last year. I mean, he basically, no disrespect, but just basically used Bradley Central High School for 6 months and then graduated. And I think he's going to do amazing things in Tennessee because, again, I bring up my hometown. I mean, Cleveland, Tennessee. A lot of history from the early 90s of guys that had opportunities to play at Tennessee, although it may not have worked out in the end. And Boo is kind of like that sort of elite sort of prospect. When the few times I watched him play, he is an elite level talent. I'll be intrigued to see because there is some talent here. I've always argued it when I covered Tennessee. I always bragged about, the Cleveland and Chattanooga talent, specifically Cleveland. I've always known that there's some talent that can play at that level. And it's good to see that some guys are starting to get opportunities. Boo, Marcus Gorey, I think will eventually get an opportunity to play there. We'll see if that was just a one-off last year with those two particular prospects, or if there's more talent coming up the ranks. Is there like a Baylor running back or something, I think, that may be committed to Tennessee for next year? I don't cover a lot of high schools, so I don't really know, but I feel like there's a guy from Baylor that may be committed to Tennessee or something like that. And that just speaks to, what is starting to come to Chattanooga, because a lot of the talent in Chattanooga will go to Baylor, McCallie, Cleveland, or Bradley. School systems, obviously opportunities, exposure. I mean, Bradley has certainly, it's funny, somebody pseudo sham was talking about Dante Hickey, was one of the guys I was talking about Cleveland, but there's certainly some guys I think coming up through the ranks that will have an opportunity to play that level. And it's good to see that Heupel jumped on it and kind of is going to lock down that talent that maybe some prior coaches in Chattanooga or Tennessee did not.
Dave, you're muted. Let
me make sure you guys can hear me. How about now?
I got you.
Okay, got you. So specifically, Gene, when you talk about this offense, because it is the first game, but people probably haven't seen Chattanooga a lot even last year. How would you describe this offense? What are their goals? I mean, we have a pretty good idea of what Josh Heupel wants to do, but I don't know as much about Rusty Wright and what he wants to do offensively.
Yeah, Rusty wants to make good decisions. He wants his quarterbacks to make the right throws. He wants his running backs to run the right way. He wants his offensive linemen to do the right things. Like, they're not the type that they want to be efficient. Like, I think last year they had the number one Pro Football Focus had Chattanooga ranked as the number one pass blocking unit in the country, like all levels. Like, I think maybe Georgia or somebody was number two. He wants to be efficient with the ball. Like, they're not going to, the way they play tomorrow is not going to be any different than they will play against Furman. They play Georgia State next week, Mercer, teams at their level, and their ETSU teams in their conference. They want to be efficient with the ball. They want their quarterback to make the right reads, right decisions. They want to run it. And then if they have a lead in the fourth quarter, they want to be able to salt the game away with their running backs. I mean, that's typically what everybody wants to do, but Chattanooga's just going to go like 3 receiver sets, sometimes 2 tight ends. They're trying to take care of the ball and not give the defense opportunities to take the ball back and put their defense back out there.
We had Rusty on yesterday. He doesn't seem like the type of coach that would have something special cooked up just for Tennessee. He sees the big picture. Sure, he wants to win the game, but it's not like he's going to show everything for Southern Conference opponents.
Yeah, I think I've heard some people talk about what Austin Peay did last year. I think that's just that particular coach who's just a little weird, maybe a little crazy. I think he's at UTSA now. It's interesting. His last game was actually against Chattanooga in the playoffs. But no, Rusty, because again, to your point, he said he sees the big picture. He is trying to, they may lose. I'm predicting they're going to lose a lot because I just think they're going to play the way that they would always play. And also thinking in the day, Tennessee is going to ultimately overwhelm them in the second half as the game goes on. But I do think that they will pull some stuff out of this because they think they've got a good team this year. They believe that they have a team that can compete for a conference championship in a good league because, as people saw last night, Western Carolina was picked third in the league, and they hung with NC State, who obviously Tennessee plays next week, for 2.5 quarters. And to me, that's more indicative of Western Carolina. I get it. NC State will get the headlines, but Chattanooga wants to be conference champions. They've got some stuff they've got to figure out as far as their team. They've got some questions at edge rusher. They sent a guy to the NFL, Jay Person. I think he just got cut from the Bucks. 2-time All-American, another edge rusher is graduated that was 3-time All-Conference. They're not 100% sure exactly what they're going to do there. Their corners both graduated from last year. They're trying to figure that position out. They've got some stuff they've got to figure out. So you can go out there and just play, mind games and do 25 trick plays. like you're trying to win the game and you don't actually figure anything out about your team. And I don't think Rusty's going to do that because, again, to your point, Rusty sees the big picture. I got to see what this team is going to be. I've got to see, the left tackle. He moved from right guard last year. We think he's a left tackle. Let's see how he holds up against James Pierce and those guys. We've got to see how these guys, hold up in certain situations. And so I don't think you'll see anything special. And if that means you just get blown out, then it is what it is. But I would, if it's me, and I think Rusty's kind of similar in that, or I'm similar to Rusty in the fact that I'd much rather get blown out and know I did things the way I want to do them for the next 11 games than keep it close and have people pat us on the back Monday on Sportsmanlike or First Take or whatever the show is. And, I'd much rather have people calling in Tony Basilio's show after at 4:00 on 4:00 on Saturday saying, man, we whooped their tail, but hey, that number such and such is pretty good for them. They've got some pretty good players. And I think that would be a win for Chattanooga, in my opinion.
Well, we would certainly prefer them to be a part of our program. The Last Look brought to you by Campbell Cunningham Taylor and Hahn Vision Center. But either way, I think there is going to be some incredible reaction to this game. Even if it's one-sided, I think it just raises Tennessee's expectation levels from their fan base. If it's close at all, then Tennessee fans are going to worry. Gene, a great job. You kind of hinted at this, but how would you predict this?
I think everybody's asked, I've just said something along the lines of like 63-10. I think Chattanooga will have some success. They may even score a couple more points, but I mean, they scored 10 last year against Alabama with the backup quarterback. I mean, their starter, Artopius, who's healthy again, was out, for that game, and they scored 10 and had a nice little touchdown run, had a long pass play to the Watley kid. I think they'll have some success. And it's the first game. You never know what's going to happen. I still think Tennessee kind of wins relatively easy, but Chattanooga gets some stuff to take home and say, hey, we did this. Remember when I did this against Tennessee and Neyland?
Good stuff, Gene. We appreciate it. How do we follow your work?
You can follow me on Twitter at Gene Henley 3. I'm trying to get more active again on there. Kind of been dormant for a while, but more active on Twitter, Gene Henley 3. TimesFreePress.com, Gene Henley. Just check my stuff out. I've got some other stuff I'm working on, but I'm not putting that stuff out there because it's not really football related and it's not really done yet. So until then, I'm not going to say anything else about it, but I've got some other stuff working. So I appreciate y'all having me, guys. Thank you much.
Thanks, buddy. Gene Henley, Chattanooga Times Free Press. So what is your take on what Gene just said, that Rusty Wright's smartest move is to play Rusty Wright football, and how could that affect the game, Caleb, on Saturday? Brought to you by Work Trucks, all about trucks that are actually available, trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle. Now time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, and it's all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intended on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks with an X saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for work trucks, cargo vans, utility body trucks with an iPod work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks with an X supplies vehicles to people just like you and contractors who you don't need to be on the road. No dealership run around. You're going to save a ton of time. That's a fact. Service Industries, remember Work Trucks with an X. Clinton Highway in Knoxville and in downtown Birmingham. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. They will fit your needs to a T. Proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. So we had Rusty Wright on yesterday, and I mean this in a positive connotation. He seemed like the conservative, well thought out coach. I'm not talking about schematically, but yes, he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to go out and throw the kitchen sink at Tennessee and show all the Southern Conference opponents everything in hopes of a long shot of upsetting the Vols because he wants to be at Chattanooga. That's something that their previous coach, Tom Arth, who, by the way, backed up Peyton Manning, I think that's the only thing he's done successfully. That's what he would have done, Caleb. So that makes me think that Tennessee's going to win, not even more handily, but it makes me feel even stronger about it.
Yeah, I agree. And Scotty Walden was brought up with Austin Peay last year, and I'm going to be fair to Scotty Walden in this sense. He threw a lot out for Tennessee, but then he did go and just run the table in his conference in the UAC, won every single game, and which is why he has the UTEP job now. I agree. I think that
sound like Gene didn't like him. But anyway, sound like Gene didn't like that guy. But anyway,
well, I mean, I think some people believe. So just for the quick, and this because they have a playoff at FCS, you can do this. Austin Peay got blown out by Southern Illinois the week before they played Tennessee. So it wasn't that they threw out. It looked like they threw the Southern Illinois game with the hopes of upsetting Tennessee by not showing anybody anything. And they didn't care because Southern Illinois wasn't a conference game and there's a playoff, so it doesn't matter if you lose that game. That's just what it looked like last year, guys, with Austin Peay. That's kind of the vibe that happened, but that may be why. But I kind of agree. He's going to play Rusty Wright football. He's going to go about his business. And also think about this, Dave. If you're Chattanooga, you got a program on the rise. Probably the fastest rising FCS program right now. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Not like.
Well, I mean, what do you? I mean, yes, you're on the rise. You made the conference. You made the playoffs last year. You won a game. You want to go deeper this year. But I say rise, but stability is the key to that conference. And then you hope you get lucky and tab a couple of special players.
Well, you're on the rise. And the reason I say that is this. I mean, on the rise, given where Chattanooga is, and given the fact that proximity matters still for FCS recruiting, they're surrounded by a lot of talent that could be very elite at that level if they continue rising. And I mean, they could reach North Dakota State's level as a college football program at FCS play.
Yeah, but those kids that are even group of 5 schools they're not going to Chattanooga.
No, but division, there are layers of this. So if the football, if the Power 5 football is better, for instance, in Atlanta, the FCS football's better in Atlanta. The lower level kids are going to be better than the lower level kids elsewhere. That's the truth of the matter. You're in Chattanooga, you borderline are recruiting like you do at a small school in Louisiana where you just need gas money. And the reason I'm bringing all that up is that why would you throw that away if you're Rusty Wright to try to win this game against Tennessee when you could run the table with your conference and really build the program up and be like a North Dakota State in Chattanooga? Because guess what, Dave? North Dakota State coaches do get hired away, like Craig Bohl at Wyoming. And if you're doing that at Chattanooga, it's a totally different story. I think he knows what he's doing. I'm with you. I think that makes it more likely Tennessee wins in just an absolute bonkers fashion. And let's just call it what it is. Most coaches, outside of people with Deion Sanders, Tom Arth, Scotty Walden, most of them, they know the whole reason their school is playing this game. Their school is playing this game to get beat up and take a $600,000 check that's worth 10% of their entire athletic budget.
Well, but I would add this too, Caleb. Most of them want that to be a stepping stone job. So Rusty Wright played there. I think he wants to retire there. I'm not saying if the Dallas Cowboys came and said, $10 million a year, he wouldn't leave. But I think he really likes it there, and I think he wants to stay there. And that's been incredibly difficult for Chattanooga to find. So
you think he's Rick Byrd?
Oh wow, good comparison.
For those who don't know, Rick Byrd had. Yeah, basketball coach at Belmont. Guys, Rick Byrd had offer after offer all over the country forever and never took an offer because he basically said, I'm happy with my life in Nashville and there's more important things than trying to be a big-time coach. He would have taken the Tennessee job because that's still home for him, but he wasn't going to take many jobs away from Belmont.
I thought there was a point, was it before Barnes or before that they should have offered him the job?
It was after the Bruce Pearl thing. They should have offered him. And honestly, I think that's one of Mike Hamilton's worst moves. He said that Mike Hamilton had such great respect for what Rick Byrd did at Belmont. He didn't want to hurt Belmont and hire him away, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, Bruce Pearl thinks one of the worst decisions Mike Hamilton ever made was getting rid of him. Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. Commercial Bank creates positive experiences for every customer every day with better solutions, better technology. Commercial Bank for personal and business. Commercial Bank, life made better. bank on it. We're going to give away a Joe Milton helmet in just a bit. 2 minutes. I want to remind everybody that I will be at So No Throwback and Threads autographing books today. I will go ahead and drop that link in the message board, and we would love to see you down there today. We've got a lot going on down at So No, so we would love for you to stop by, and I'd be more than happy to sign a book for you. So we're giving that Joe Milton helmet away. That's right over my shoulder. Give me 2 minutes off Thug Sports.
Fifth year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that. If we wouldn't put our family in it, we're not going to put their family in it. If you're going to say that you're doing the best work in Knoxville, now saying it's one thing, producing it and providing it's another.
The largest family-owned collision center in Knoxville is Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team you can rely on. Ray Varner Ford & Clinton's strong lineup of vehicles is crafted with the same dedication and hard work that drives our community. Experience quality and value in this pre-owned 2023 Ford Expedition Limited 4x4 $67,950, 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor SVT $41,950, 2023 Ford Escape ST Line $28,940. Local you trust, pre-owned vehicles you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Give me your biggest reason, Caleb, why Tennessee will be significantly better other than Nico. And then we're going to go west for a moment. But if you had to pick one reason other than Nico, what would it be?
Why Tennessee will be significant this year?
Significantly better.
I can give you two.
Okay.
Right off the bat. One, their secondary is I think the way they ran off guys is it made them much better. But the other one, and this is a very underrated one. I mean, a very, very, very underrated one. Phil Steele, earlier in the year, did his top 10s for offensive and defensive lines in the nation. Tennessee is one of 3 schools. I forget the other 2, but I remember they're one of 3 that have top 10 offensive and defensive lines based on Phil Steele's analytics.
Okay, now I was asked this question when I did a radio show in Memphis this morning. So I want to ask you the same question. Other than saying Nico gets hurt, right? Okay, injury plagues happen, and really, I think last year would have counted. I mean, that would derail a season, and in terms of the key players they got hurt. Other than injury bug like last year, or something happens to Nico, what is most likely to derail the Vols and your high expectations?
The secondary, there's 2 things. One, an injury to Cooper Mays. Would derail
no
them.
injuries.
Okay, if anything derails them, it's either the secondary doesn't gel, which I think is possible, that they just can't gel, or key players for the program that are young, that we're hyping up but we don't know enough about, become Jeremy Banks level problems.
So chemistry,
yeah.
Which is another thing that's very difficult to predict, right?
Insanely difficult to predict. I mean,
So that's what I told to get back to your original one. That is exactly what I told that Memphis radio station is, have we been sold a bill of goods on this secondary? And we don't know because practice isn't open. So we don't know. But I mean, if okay, we discussed whether or not Josh Heupel should have pumped up his roster preseason. I would say PR wise, you shouldn't raise expectations. But if he's pumping it up and they're, I mean, if he's pumping it up and they're not very good, that would be doubly stupid, wouldn't it?
Maybe it's a way to apply pressure. I don't know. I mean, he said we anticipate Cooper Mays to play against Florida. He said that last year, and Cooper Mays didn't play. And I got to say, from a negative perspective, it felt like he was trying to pressure Cooper Mays to play when Cooper Mays was banged up.
Did you feel like he was?
I felt like he was. Yeah, I think he was trying to pressure him to play. And I mean, look, we have to be honest. He hasn't. And as far as the chemistry thing, let's talk about this for a minute. I mean, look, that Michigan team was incredibly close last year. That's why their chemistry was so good. Tennessee's one national championship of the last 50 years was the most close-knit football team I think we've ever seen, right? That 98 team is closer than any football team you've ever covered or been around, right?
Yes.
It overcomes things. I'll just do another one. Guys, why did the bad boy Pistons beat the Jordan Bulls twice to go win titles? They weren't better than those Jordan Bulls teams. They beat them because those bad boy Pistons teams were incredibly close. I've seen documentaries on them. I mean, Dennis Rodman and only Dennis Rodman said they were so close they could have had sex with each other. But I'm not going to go that level. But everything I've read was those teams they knew the whole NBA hated them and the whole country hated them and was mad at them for getting in the way of Michael Jordan, and they just embraced it. And I think that helped them win 2 titles.
Well, I think they were close. I think Michael Jordan had a lot of adjusting to do as well because he's such a driven person. You have to realize that everybody's not as driven as you, and you can't expect somebody to work 70 hours a week just because you do. So I think there was that, and he shared the basketball a little bit more. All right, what is going on?
Your Cowboys, by the way, your Cowboys, they were very close, but very close to a fault, weren't they? They were incredibly close. They were just close getting into trouble too. In the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know what you were talking about earlier about having relationships with each other, but I guarantee you that some of the Cowboys had relationships with the same women, maybe at the same time. Caleb, let's go to Colorado before we give away this Joe Milton helmet, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this is a wild one, and I had to bring it up because I don't know if this is excuse making or what. So Colorado last year, for those who don't remember, they started 3-0, and everybody loved them. Everybody talked about it, and they go to play Oregon, and Dan Lanning said, they're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins. That was the easiest spread for me to pick ever. I said Oregon was just going to blow them out, and they did. Colorado alleged, reportedly, that Oregon accessed a server with the Pac-12, which no longer exists, and was considering an FBI probe. According to Front Office Sports, Colorado staff identified possible unauthorized access to their online server that stores practice videos and data. So basically they're saying Colorado is alleging that Oregon got access to their servers last year, and they are implying that the Pac-12 was willingly involved in letting that happen.
So the original cheating was giving Albert Means more money, right? That was the cheating. You got the Jimmies and Joes. Now it seems like there are more Jimmies and Joes because their football is a bigger factor than even it was 25 years ago when I started. And there are more people in our country. Just simple as that. So football is bigger. College football is bigger. I thought, what do you think is going to be the new cheating? Is it going to be tampering, contacting players during the season? Or is it going to be the sign stealing, this sort of stuff, trying to get the X's and O's?
I'll tell you where the new cheating is going to be.
Oh.
It's going to be backloaded NIL promises, which is to say that there's going to eventually be limits on like how you can promise NIL and things like that. And whenever Congress passes a law, and universities are going to pledge to pay players on the back end in a way of like, oh, we'll pay you for this amount of time. We got a job lined up for you here. We'll put you on a salary even well after you're playing at Tennessee. You'll be able to make, 100,000 here and 100,000 there on a yearly basis.
So you think it's still extra cash? So given the three options, but the best way to cheat, put that as a poll question. Is it stealing scheme, tampering with players, or finding a new way to pay players? Go ahead and put that out there. And then I want to get your take on that before we give away this Joe Milton helmet. The show represented by Banks and Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. All right, so that's up there on our poll question. You want to go ahead and set up for us, Caleb?
Yeah, so we have it. What is the best way to cheat in college football today? Stealing signs, tampering, creative ways to pay players extra. Tampering's at 44%, creative ways to pay extra 33%, and stealing signs is 22%.
I think it's tampering because I think it's illegal to tell somebody that you can't. I mean, it wasn't illegal for me to contact you and say, would you be interested in working together? I mean,
no, yeah, the best way to cheat is tampering because you're not going to get in trouble for it. Like,
I mean,
what can they do?
I mean, and you could do it in so many ways where you never get caught. But even if you get caught, you'd say, I mean, what is the NCAA or whoever the governing body is? What do they say, Caleb? Do they say, oh, shame on you. You're trying to make your team and this player's life better?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and by the way, that's the most important because you're trying to get the players. And I want to point out, this is why the Colorado thing is so stupid. Dave, sign stealing only goes so far. There's no universe where Colorado is in that game with Oregon last year, given the difference in talent, right?
This is very true. All right. Yes, this is absolutely true. By the way, the earlier question, it appears as if we've got some meat eaters. If you had to give up one, it would be alcohol, meat, football. Alcohol at 81%, meat 14%, football just 3%. Kind of surprised anybody even voted for football. What's the best way to cheat in college football today? Tampering 50%, creative ways to pay players extra 25%, stealing signs 25%. So there you go. I'm not even sure. I want to see. Have you seen the Connor Stallions thing yet?
No, I got to watch it this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not even sure you can legislate that. He just absolutely kind of went out on his own. So you don't know if that. Now, I think eventually Jim Harbaugh pushed him. I think a lot of money came from somewhere. He claims that he slept in his car outside of his military base and rented out his house so that he could then fly across the country to scout other teams with his own money, Caleb. Are you buying that?
No.
That he Airbnb'd his home and slept in his car to save money, and that none of it came from Jim Harbaugh or the Michigan staff. So, I mean, how did they come down on this? He clearly had some help. The other thing with sign stealing, you've got the in-helmet thing, and well, that's true. I mean, I think this guy really was a savant. Like, I think he saw it super quick. So I don't think those are a dime a dozen. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree, and that's why I never had the biggest problem with sign stealing. I'm like, if you're that skilled, do it. I mean, that's pretty impressive. It's
right in person. Did you have a problem with him traveling to do it?
I'm mixed on it. I don't know. Here's the thing.
You know what high school football coaches do when they have their off weeks?
Travel to study other teams.
Yes,
and get their sign exactly. And he was just better. Here's the other point with sign stealing and things like this. So we talk savants. I think Peyton Manning was a savant to a certain degree. I think Peyton Manning learned very quickly defensive tendencies based on your motions and movements. Because a lot of, this, Dave, his play calling, the freeze plays, wasn't that complex. Most of that stuff was dummy calls. He just had a weird innate ability, didn't he, to know that this is what formation of defense is based on some motion of a linebacker or defensive back. Isn't that how Peyton Manning always figured it out?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But does savant have a somewhat negative connotation to it? Like, this guy didn't seem right. This Connor Stallions didn't seem exactly right. And he kept doing this thing. Yeah, I paid for it myself. And he did this cute little smile. Like, you're obviously lying. I play poker a lot.
You brought it up. I mean, guys that pick it up typically are, when you say, I'm not a doctor, but we talk about people on the spectrum sometimes. When you're on the spectrum, you're very, very proficient in picking up things and very not proficient in other things. Look, I've honestly said this, Dave. I thought Peyton Manning was kind of on the spectrum to a certain degree with the way he picked things up so quickly and how awkward he could be.
Okay, that's what I was wondering if you were going. I think he interacts with people just fine, which typically human interaction is where you. No,
yes, but where does he come up short? Where does he come up?
Wasn't Rain Man?
No, but where does Peyton come up short? He can't dress himself. He actually has to have note cards that lays out this goes with this goes with that. That's what I mean. You're proficient in areas and you're very deficient in others. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with savants, okay? You are very deficient in certain areas because you're so proficient in other areas. And I think that, Peyton Manning is very outgoing, but
I'm just imagining totally Omaha, definitely Omaha.
Like, that is total bullshit.
It's like Rain Man would say, definitely Omaha.
To the root of this, I'm with you.
11 defenders, 69 toothpicks, 89 toothpicks.
Sign stealing is going to be the most.
Have you even seen Rain Man, or are you too young for that?
No, I'm too young.
Okay, it was about that.
Sign stealing is going to be the most effective way of cheating, guys, because the other two won't be cheating. Tampering and whatever, there won't be any regulations on what you can pay people. So sign stealing is going to be the most effective form of cheating because it's the only one that the NCAA can actually step in and say you can't do this.
Rain Man was a really Wapner. Rain Man was a really good movie about a crazy Church of Scientologist guy that takes a autistic person that happens to be his brother across the nation, and the audience is supposed to believe the brother he just met that he's not going to get him institutionalized and take all his dad's money, which he clearly would have, especially if you're in Scientology, because you have to give it to the Church of Scientology. There we go. You should watch Rain Man. Are you ready to give away this? Boom. By the way, the Wapner reference was everyday Wapner. Remember like our intro that goes like this. I'll pull it up. Do you even remember People's Court?
What, Judge Judy?
No. No, that's the wrong one.
That's Law and Order.
Yeah, by the way, you need to go to Banks and Jones for criminal defense. But here's the helmet that I'm giving away. You can see it, right? Okay, you can see it down here. And we're going to go ahead and spin the wheel. Travis says rigged. Travis. Buddy, honestly, we talk so much about Colorado so that I could make sure I got everybody on it. So, okay, that's what I was doing for you because I love you. And if you haven't joined yet, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit more time, and I'm going to share our ability to join Hooker's Corner. We're going to have a chat during the game, so do that. You can be a free member. I think there's a discount coming up. And you can be a paid member for $9.98 and win fantastic prizes like this Joe Milton helmet. So here we go. You tell me when to spin the wheel, and I will click that big white circle that looks like a hole right there in the middle.
I tell you when?
Yeah.
Go. Spin it.
There we go. See that? Your chances are getting smaller, so you need to join now. Looks like Ahmed. Oh, it looks like Bill. Is it Bill? Bill, congratulations, sir. You are our winner. I will link up with you. We will get you this Joe Milton helmet, which is fantastic. And wow, I like this new screen thing. When you were real little, how did you do that? Let me see.
Why do you want me real little?
I don't know. Can we do it like that from now on? Who likes that? Go ahead and put in the message board if you think Caleb should be real little. Who's giddy about football? Who's just super excited about it?
Can we do a second history lesson before we close out?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just ask you first, though, and I want to ask the message board. What is your favorite part about football season? Because I can actually feel something in the air, and I felt it last week where it was a little bit cooler in the morning. I know we're still in August, but I kind of feel that. Bobby Bowden said he used to go pee more often when he got close to football season. So that is to me, that little twinge of it's a little bit cooler in the morning makes me think of football season. So what is it to you, or what's special about that first full day of games? Because Saturday didn't count.
Oh, it's that. It's the weather. I love fall weather. I just love it. It is the best feeling in the world. I mean, I like overcast. I like the crisp smell of like cookouts and, grilling and fire pits and things like that. I genuinely love. Everybody says spring gets you in the good mood, but no, the smell of fall gets me in the good mood. I love fall. Honestly, football gets more depressing as winter comes around because I don't like the winter, and it means football season is close to ending.
Yes. So then we'll all go to seasonal affective disorder, and we'll have Gene Henley and John Adams host the show for us. Adam says, my favorite part is getting people I love together and people I respect, getting excited enough to act childish. That's good stuff, because I've acted like a kid today. Absolutely.
So guys, here's a quick history lesson about Chattanooga for you guys. Dave, you want to know the first time Tennessee and Chattanooga ever played?
I'm ready.
1892. Yeah, they played. It was 1892.
What else happened in 1892?
I don't know. There was the election of, I believe, Grover Cleveland won re-election after losing in 1888.
God, I'm joking.
But yeah, I know history. But between 1892 and 1969, Tennessee and Chattanooga played each other 42 times. And then it stopped because, as you know, Division II was created in 73. And then they didn't play again until it was rekindled in 2014. But during that time, Dave, did you know Tennessee played Chattanooga every single regular season that Tennessee went undefeated? 1896, 1914, 1938, 1939, 1940, and 1951. And they also played them in 1950, which they claim as a national championship. Burt Reckeshar had one of the greatest performances in Tennessee history playing Chattanooga in 1951, I believe.
Wait, you're telling me every time they went undefeated, they played, or every time they played Chattanooga, they went undefeated?
No, every time they went undefeated in the regular season, they played Chattanooga that year. Before 98, obviously, because that was
before 98.
Before 98,
okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, he's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. The show represented by Banks and Jones. Congratulations to Bill Jackson. I love a big spread every Saturday. Turn on game day and join the day.
Showing this one.
What? John Adams covered the 1896 game. He did. He did.
A little too young for the 1892 game, but he did make the 1896 game.
Yes, he actually filed his story about Pony Express. That's how it worked. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. We're represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Enjoy the game. Have a fantastic weekend. Do not forget, we will have the Last Look post-game show brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. And that will be right after the game. So as soon as it hits zeros, be ready for us. And we'll be up and at them to talk about what should be a big game. My final pick, 63-13, going out the door. Caleb, yours.
My final one is going to be. Oh, you do think they'll hit the 60s? I thought you were like, oh no, they won't do the 60s. Josh Heupel's too classy. No, I'm with you. I think I'm going 70. I think they're hitting 70. No, I'm saving 70 for 2 weeks. 65-17.
Classy. Your tennis shoes to SEC